There's like a lot of sayings around like pick your battles, but I think that you can address little things. I think it's just how you address it. Because sometimes I think the idea of picking your battles can turn you into someone who's passive aggressive.
True.
Because you feel like, wow, I really want to say something, but let me keep the peace. Let me pick my battles. But then you just end up not saying anything, and you get into this like cycle of constantly shutting yourself down and muting yourself in order to keep the peace. But inside, you're brewing and stewing and cooking up. For how I operate, I have just had to learn how to address things that may be smaller, but I know that they can build up into something bigger, and the molehill can turn into a mountain. So just like addressing things in real time in a kind way or in a joking way. Like we'll play and we'll joke and be like, "Why ain't like that? What was that about?" And then, the person doesn't feel this pressure of having some intense conversation. Don't always match your partner's energy if their energy is not in the best space. Sometimes, as opposed to picking your battles, pick the right time, the right tone, and the right energy to address things with.
Yeah, timing is definitely key. The worst thing you want to do is like put a band-aid over a bullet wound, because
Right.
honestly, it's just going to continue to be there. You're definitely gonna bleed out eventually.
Hey. Welcome back to the Triggered AF podcast, where with raw honesty and unfiltered conversations, this is the number one place to not only explore the triggers that shape our lives, but to also do something about them. So get ready to laugh, cry, and discover something new about yourself. You could keep spiraling, or you can deal with your triggers. It truly is your choice. But I have a sneaky suspicion that if you are here with us today, then it just might mean you are ready to deal with yours. So let's tap in. We are about to get real. Okay. Hey, Dani and Reggie, how are y'all?
How you doing?
We are splendid. We're splendid. We're happy to be here again.
Okay, a little splendid. I haven't heard splendid in a while. Reggie, what about you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. Happy to be here. Before we even get into it, first I want to give you ladies your flowers. I was actually at the very inception of Triggered, and to see what you guys have done from day one to now is very inspiring, and you guys are doing your thing, and I'm proud of you girls.
Thank you, honey. Yeah. You have been very instrumental in keeping this train moving. Okay,
that's all you guys.
Yes, y'all. Truth moment. Without Reggie, I don't even think we would still be here. So thank you.
Don't give me that much credit.
No, we have to.
No, we have to. We like to tell the truth. Okay, it's okay. We have to be honest with ourselves. Without you truly like just being like an actual supporter in a very tangible way, we would not be here. So thank you seriously for just all that you have done, how you show up for Dani and how you show up for hell, even me. I'm super, super grateful for you. So thank you.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So now this particular conversation, y'all know we have the conversations that are uncomfortable, that many people like to glaze over. We're not so good at the glaze. We like to jump in. We like to dive in. So this conversation about after the honeymoon is literally focused on the fact that unfortunately so many people get super excited and they're ready to go for the day, like that wedding, the pictures, the everything, looking pristine and perfect. And then now you get to the marriage and you get confused as to, but wait, why isn't it still picture perfect? Where you have to actually do something. Now, perfection will never be a thing, right? So let's just keep that a buck. You'll never reach perfection, but what you can reach is a perfect place for you. So that's what we want to tap into. So we're going to hop right on in. So and this question is for the both of you. What would you say was the biggest, I guess, misconception or shock that you had after the honeymoon was over? Like after that honeymoon, you're like, okay, wait, what do you mean?
You want to jump into that first?
I mean, how long do we have? So many. I think the main one for me was that you would always feel madly in love.
What do you mean? Go deeper.
Like, I was under the impression that, like, when you get married, when you have your person, like, those butterflies, those, like, goo goo gaga feelings are just always gonna be there because you found the one. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
yeah.
like, the concept of happily ever after,
Mhm.
it's like, even though we don't really know what that means,
Yeah.
it's just we all come up with what that means, and for me, it just meant, like, I would just always feel great and in love and just like, and I didn't realize how much of it is actually something you have to cultivate and work at on a daily basis. Like, it's a choice and a decision that you're making. So that for me is the biggest one, that the emotional good gushy feelings are just default when it
Ah,
actually are something that you have to continuously make a decision to feel.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And Reggie, what about you?
I mean, she definitely hit it right on the dot. For me, it was a little different, but more so on the same page. This was my second rodeo with this. If I can
Yeah.
be transparent as well, I came off a very, challenging divorce. And Danny and I reconnected. And truth be told, she was really always the one that got away. You know what I mean? More so in a sense of we just had a real foundation, a real friendship.
Yeah.
And when we reconnected, I knew that I never wanted to make that mistake again. So, after the wedding, after the big party for everybody else, the real work starts.
Yeah.
So her and I, being that we already had solid foundation, we always, I think what keeps our glue, what our glue is really is more so having tough conversations. And I know that if I face any type of adversity, or if I have any type of like discrepancies or any issues lingering, this is somebody I can talk to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'll be a judge-free zone. It won't be any dangling the carrot over your head. Like, remember you said this, but this actually
Mhm.
happened. It's more so just knowing that that person is really here for you, and vice versa. So I guess the biggest challenge was more so just allowing myself to be wide open again. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
I had my walls up, and I even told myself I would never get married again. But she definitely knocked that wall down, and I'm glad that it's been knocked down, and I just and allowed me to just freely be myself again, and that was more so the biggest challenge for me.
Yeah, so see, you all tapped on a couple of different things, and I definitely want to hop into it, especially the whole telling yourself you'll never get married again. Because I too, after my first and only divorce, I said that same thing, like, "Oh no, I'll never do this again." And it's taken me quite a long time to get back to the willingness to even think about doing so. But you
Sure.
said something in there where it was after the party that's where the real work began.
Hmm.
And that sounds good, but for so many people, they don't understand what that work means or what that work is. Uh, Many times you don't understand that, hey, you still have to live and be with the person when you don't like their friends,
Hmm.
when they have attitudes and they're walking around angry for months, sometimes years at a time, when there are health issues and chemical imbalances that neither of you understand, when there are children who need things that you don't necessarily want to provide for them because they have additional needs that are outside of what you thought it would be. And then you have jobs, you have businesses, you have all of these things and all of these pressures. And it's like, wait a minute,
Hmm.
what are we doing? So when you say the work, what would you say that has actually meant or actually looked like when you say doing the work?
That's such a good question. For us, it's going back to the tough conversations, I feel
Hmm.
like that's always been the thing for us. Like, even in our dating phase, it was like, we're going to have uncomfortable conversations. He actually spearheaded that, because for me, sometimes I would shut down, or I don't want to have this conversation, I don't want to talk about this, and he's very much like, no, we're not doing anything else until we talk about this. Like, turn off the TV, put your phone away, let's go. And I'm just like, wait, like, I'm not ready, I wasn't ready. So I know for me, it's the tough conversations, and just not anticipating the answer of the other person,
Mm,
and just deciding what they're going to say because you feel like you know them so well, or because they said it like that 10 other times, just always kind of giving them a clean slate with every conversation so you're not already predetermining the outcome of the conversation.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and to second that, it's more so like she taught me something about giving, whether it's any relationship, whether it's your business relationship with your partners or your intimate relationship with your wife or husband, it's more so giving that person grace. See, I come from a background where I've been an entrepreneur since fresh out of high school. So
Yeah.
I look at things from a logical point of view. Like
Yeah, black and white.
yeah, it's just black and white with me. Like if you want this, you just have to hustle and get to that point. But in a
Yeah.
marriage, it's everybody has different things going on.
Yeah.
Your partners, your friends, they have different things going on. So you have to be in a position to, in a mindset to give people grace. Because without giving them grace, you're just looking at it from your perspective, and that's not fair to them. That's not fair to you. Because all you're gonna do is just set yourself up for failure. So she's allowed me and taught me to just give people grace and not look at things from your own, you know what I mean, your own lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
that helps us a lot with like giving each other grace
For
and just
sure.
having patience. And it's like you say those things, but it's like back to your question, like what does the work actually look like? The work actually looks like maybe breathing before you respond, you know. Something that I think we've both gotten better at is saying things in real time. So there's like a lot of sayings around like choose, like pick your battles.
Mhm.
But I think that you can address little things. I think it's just how you address it, because sometimes I think the idea of picking your battles can turn you into someone who's passive aggressive,
True.
because you feel like, wow, I really want to say something, but let me keep the peace. Let me pick my battles. But then you just end up not saying anything. And you get into this like cycle of
Yeah.
constantly shutting yourself down and muting yourself in
Mhm.
order to keep the peace. But inside you're brewing and stewing and cooking up.
For
You're
sure.
So
boiling.
I know for me, I'm not a pick the battle type of a person. Like I got to get it out. It's gonna eat me up. You're gonna see it in my face. You're gonna feel it in my energy. And I've always said that the way he feels and reads my energy is like I've never experienced that before in a relationship. Like he can just like I'll wake up and he'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't even know yet. I don't even know what's wrong with me." You know, he's so like intuitive,
Yeah.
and I feel like we don't think about how intuitive men can be, but
Yeah.
he's so intuitive. So it's just like I can't insult his intelligence and just be like, oh, nothing's wrong. So for how I operate, I have just had to learn how to address things that may be smaller, but I know that they can build up into something bigger and the molehill can turn into a mountain. So just like addressing things in real time in a kind way or in a joking way.
Mhm.
Like we'll play and we'll joke and be like, "Why ain't like that? What was that about?" And then,
Yeah.
you know, the person doesn't feel this pressure of having some intense
Don't feel so
conversation.
threatened. Yeah.
Yeah, like we'll just like talk or we'll crack a joke, or like the other day, like in a like real time conversation, he woke up like kind of crabby on, was that Saturday or something? It was like Saturday, like he was just in like a mood and I was feeling his mood, and I was just like, I did kind of like reel it in for myself to not match his energy, which is another way to do the work. Don't always match your partner's energy if their energy is not in the best space. And
Yeah.
then like the next day, I jokingly was just like, "What was up with you yesterday? Why are you so crabby?" Like, you know, and then he'd be like, "Was I?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, like you were being a little snappy. Like, what was that?" And he was just like, "Oh, you know, I just had a lot on my mind." And so it's just like sometimes, as opposed to picking your battles, pick the right time,
Mhm.
the right tone, and the right energy to address
Mm.
things.
Yeah, timing is definitely key. The worst thing you want to do is like put a band-aid over a bullet wound, because
Right.
honestly, it's just gonna continue to be
You're
there.
gonna bleed out.
You're definitely gonna bleed out eventually.
Yeah.
So, and timing is key. Even though you want to address things in real time,
Yeah.
there's still within that day, that's still addressing it in real time.
Right.
It's not okay. We had an issue, now it's festering. It's festering. I'm still mad about something you did 2 weeks ago. Yeah, even though life is still life, and we're walking around,
Yeah.
we're doing all the things that married couples do. But I'm still harping about that. So that's why I feel like it's always important and instrumental to really address things in real time. Meaning, don't let it linger. Don't go to bed
It's
upset.
about 24 hours. He has
Yeah, for me, that's my
it's
cap.
he has like a 24-hour rule that he's implemented in a relationship from the beginning. Because, you know, I walk past you for 3 days, boo. Like, we don't got to talk. Like, I don't want to talk
Nah.
to you. You don't want to talk to
That's
me.
fine.
And I've been there, done that. You know what I mean? And Yeah, it's only so long you can do that.
And he was just like, look, you got 24 hours, because he's like, I want to talk about it now. And I'm like, I need to like process and like,
Mm.
let me deal with it. And then I'll come back and talk to you. And he's like, our middle was like, all right, you got 24 hours. Like by tomorrow morning, like we're not taking this into the next morning. Like we'll wake up and he'll be like, all right, like, are we taking this into the next day? Like, what are we doing? Like, let's have the conversation before the day even starts so that we can move on and enjoy life. And it has had such an impact. So those are just some examples of, we feel like it, you know, and there's so much more, but like those are some of like the key pieces of work that we do to kind of keep the vibes.
And even sometimes she holds me accountable about the ground rules and set rules that we have in place, because I'll break my own rules sometimes, because
you're human.
Yeah, I'm human, so I'll stay in my little runt sometimes, but she'll bring it back and be like, hey, let's talk about it. Like, is everything okay? Like, she'll test my temperature every now and then, and we even have this thing that we literally did yesterday, at Mother's Day brunch, and we'll have our. It's important to continue to date each other. It's been a little challenging now with the little ones that we have, because they're work in itself, but at lunch or a brunch yesterday, we do this thing called check-ins, where the setting is nice, everybody's on good vibes, the drinks are flowing, the vibes are right, but at that time is the best time to really let's talk about some things that we haven't been talking about. So we'll do our check-ins or bi-monthly,
At
maybe
least once a month. Like, it's just like, what am I doing that is, irritating you? What could I be doing more of? What could I be doing less of? What could I just stop doing, period? How can I show up for you? How can you feel more supported? Like, it's just like, a test, a check, and like a conversation that we can't really sit and have all the time because all these things are moving. So it's just like a moment to be intentional with each other, where we're like, let's talk about our relationship specifically, and like what needs to happen for us to like keep nourishing it and keep it flourishing. Dating isn't trash, but how you date absolutely can be. For so many of us, we're dating people who we don't really like and who don't like us. We focus so much on being chosen that we don't take the time to actually honor our own wants, needs, and desires. We created the What Type of Data Are You quiz that not only shows you what type of data you are, but also shows you where to find your type. Are you a cautious clam? Are you a spontaneous stimulator? Or are you a luxury loving hot ticket? Take the quiz to find out now and gain invaluable insights into your dating preferences at datingwellaf.com.
Yeah. So every relationship is different. Like, we all know that what works for some may not work for others. What could be catastrophic to one could be the very thing that saves another. And so you all touched on a couple of key points there, from being willing to have the tough conversation to not letting it fester for days and weeks, to learning to, it's not just picking your battles, it's just picking the right time to bring up certain things. And it's not always immediately the moment you feel it, because timing is everything. And then it's also having those check-ins. But what happens when you're in a season where you just don't like your partner? Because I know when I was married, I went through 6 months where I despised the sound of his voice. The very sound of his voice would bring me physical pain. And I know that sounds extra, but I'm being so for real. Like, the anxiety that would well up when I would hear his voice. And I'm not just saying because of my situation, but I have mentors who, have been married for, 10, 15, 20 some odd years. And the one common theme and thread that they've all said is there have been periods where they did not like their partner, just didn't like them. Hell, Michelle Obama said the same thing about Barack, where she said there were years that she just didn't like him. Like,
for almost a decade, she said. They've been together 30 years, and she was like, for like 10 years, I didn't like him. And she's like, but if I can, like, I'll take the odds of loving you for 20 and disliking you for 10, like that. She's like, she said that she would take those odds any day. So that's a real thing.
A very real thing. So how do you still do those things and do the work when I don't fucking like you? Like, touch me. Oh, dear God. What do you mean?
I personally haven't ever reached there with him.
I was just going to say that. I don't think I'm near with her. I'm not even going to put a yet on that. I hope that never really happens.
Right. But I'm saying, like, we don't, like, I know I can speak for myself. Like, I've never felt like that for any extended period of time. Like, are there days where he's, like, getting on my nerves? Yeah. Or are there, like, is there a week?
Speak to the days, because the days, we start with days, right? I think that's how you eventually get to 10 years, because you
If you
start
don't
with
if
the
you don't
day.
do something about it, right? Like
Yes,
maybe we're not taught to like how do you move through that? I would say
yes.
one of the things I do is I try to ground myself in gratitude for him
Mm.
and
Ooh.
appreciation for him and who he is.
So that flips it.
Yeah, so it's just like say he's doing something like that irritates me. Like, just a part of his personality. Like he's not trying to because that's what those are the things that start to chip away at relationships. It's like the person and how they think, how they operate. It's not usually them going out and cheating, going out and doing bad things, screaming at you all day. Like if
Right.
it's a decently healthy relationship, it's the small foxes, right? That
That
spoil
add
the
up.
vine. Like
Yeah.
it's tiny, tiny things that chip away. So it's really just about like how to figure out that day to day. So if there's a day or like a time where like I'm like in a mood and he's in a mood and we're both just like snappy at
Moody.
each other and eventually one of us, it seems like, will kind of get to a space where like, whoa, like what's happening
Let's
with you?
discuss.
Like, why are you talking to me like that so much now? I don't like that you're talking to me this way. But I know
Yeah.
for me, it's
Mhm.
just thinking of how awesome he is, all the things I do love about him. I also try to think about because I'm getting triggered by him, I like to
Mhm.
go inside and think about what kind of mirror is he being to me right now.
Mm.
So, like, if
Ooh.
he does something and I find myself getting aggravated with it, I'll look at myself and be like, "Ooh, what in me needs work?" Because
Mm.
it's so
Okay.
easy to always point the finger at the person that's triggering you, especially
Mhm.
if it's your partner in life.
Mhm.
Intimately, you're just like, you always want to blame them because they're the easiest people to blame.
They're right
For
there.
me, yeah, for me, when I notice that like something that he's doing is like constantly triggering me, I
Mhm.
start to just like think about myself and
You're like,
how
wait, I didn't know you mean, what you mean constant?
there are things,
No, I'm laughing because it's true.
it's true. It's true. Like,
Yeah.
so just finding out, doing a deeper dive and getting introspective as
Hmm.
Mhm.
opposed to always wanting to project or point the finger. It's like, okay, what is this speaking to inside
Yeah.
me? How are you being my mirror? Because I believe that the best relationships are mirrors to your
Yes.
deepest, darkest parts of yourself and even the lightest, brightest parts of yourself. So you have to be okay with all of that when you're dealing with a
Yes.
mirror.
Mhm.
So that's what I do for me. Gratitude and appreciation, sitting in that as much as I
Mhm.
can, and also getting introspective for me.
Ooh.
Absolutely. And to say this is, I think we do a great job at disarming each other. In other
Mm.
words, more so like I'm not into fighting fire with fire. I'm not into
Yeah.
like
No
the
matching energy.
yeah, the only way my voice is gonna go crazy and you hear me yelling is because I'm watching a Heat game or something. Other than that, I'm not into like barking at each other. I'm not into any of that.
Yeah, we don't yell
No, I'm
and
not.
like
Mhm.
fight. Like we don't name call. These are my ground rules when we
Yeah,
were dating. No name calling, no yelling.
Okay.
But go ahead. That's like a thing for us. Like it's been almost 5 years now.
yeah.
We
Okay.
don't do that.
And she didn't even have to say that. That's just something that and not to say that I've never done this before. It's just something that
Mhm.
I'll never do again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've been there, done that, and
Yeah.
clearly the result of that was
Not
what it
so
was.
good.
You know what I mean? And I said, you know what? Sometimes I got to look at within myself and see, okay, what do I need to change to yield better results? Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're expecting different results, then at the end of the day, that's on you. You have to know
Yeah.
how to have some sort of self accountability, and I think that's what we pride ourselves on is just being accountable. And sometimes the work may not be between us two.
Mhm.
To this day, I still see my therapist. You know, to this day, she still sees her therapist, and we surround ourselves with like minded people. So you have to be very intentional on the people that you share information with when it comes to your marriage, because not everybody's for you. You know, so
That part.
that plays a very important part as well.
So y'all just tapped into two things, and so it's crazy that you already went there, because I was going to talk about what does it look like to do the work separate and aside from each other, besides just the counseling, because I think counseling is phenomenal. And I understand that it's not for everyone. Like traditional
Mhm.
therapy is not for everyone. I get that, and I even agree with that. However, having some sort of an outlet, whether it's a coach or a mentor, where y'all meet on some sort of a consistent cadence to help
Mhm.
you navigate those things. Because if you have had challenging experiences, like I know for me, I am like you, Dani, please don't yell at me. The moment you yell at me, like you probably are on your way out, because I've been in an abusive relationship, yelling, it causes me to turn into something that is not very pretty. Or the opposite side of that is it turns me into a little child where I can't control my emotions and I'm crying and I'm frantic. It's a full-on anxiety attack. So it's one or two ways, and we never know which one is going to come out.
Right.
So for me, that's like a ground rule for me as well. But going through and having that consistent therapy to figure out what are my major triggers, because they don't go away. But then once I've identified what they are, how do I then, in relationship with people, because that's how you really feel like it, that's how you really find out if the work is working. Once you get in relationship with someone, you're perfect when you by yourself. Like, oh my God, all the things.
It's so easy.
All the things. But speaking about the work on yourself separate and apart from each other, what have been some of those key things for you all that have been pivotal? Yes, the therapy, but also what else? Is it mentorship? Is it making sure you take time for yourself? Is it date nights with just yourself? Like, what has that been like for each of you to make sure that, okay, I am able to come to you with at least 80% of my best self, because you might not always be at 100, but at least 80% of my best self, so that I can be giving you what you truly do need?
For Dani and I think it's us, and this is just one of many, or one of a few, but I know one of the main reasons why I feel like we work well together is that, even though this may sound surface level, but we move our bodies a lot. You know what I mean? I think, and we're very health conscious. She's got me so health conscious to the point that, I'm wearing the groceries. I'm like, is this organic? Like, can we put this in the cart? Because she got me on this whole organic craze. So now, even my guy that does my meal plans, I had to switch up on him a little bit. And I'm like, hey, everything has to be organic now. So,
yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Yes, and you just hit it right on the dot. It's a lifestyle. So at the end of the day, it as cliche as it sounds, if you look good, you feel good, you get paid good, or you'll yield better results. So at the end of the day, I think it's very important that we continue to nurture our bodies as individuals, so we can show up as the best version for ourselves, for our partner in turn. So I like to work out. You know what I mean? That puts me in a real good mood. It gets my endorphins going. I come home from the gym, should be like, I might be all over her because, that energy's flowing, my heart rate is up, and I feel like I'm a way better person when I move my body. So
we both are.
Yeah, we
know that about each other.
Absolutely.
Like, I think, it's so funny that I just thought about this. I never thought about it before, but the day that I texted him for us to reconnect, and I wasn't trying to reconnect, crazy. I was trying to just see if he was alive and just send my love and light. I thought I was, but the day I texted him, when he called me, we were both on our way to work out.
Yeah.
Hadn't spoken in years. I was like, he's like, I'm actually, I was like, actually, I'm in the gym too. Like, can you call me after I'm done? Because I'm going to the gym too. So like, it's always been a really big part. And, with me having babies and things like that, it's been hard to kind of get back in a groove, but because he knows me and he knows like, hey, you need this. Yeah. And then, we have started to even just like make the sacrifices necessary to make sure we can both get that. So like now he'll like stay home and like be with our girls so I can have an hour and a half to go exercise. Like he'll be like, yo, I'm going to work out, hold them down. Like you go now, like we're tag team, like, because we realize that like we have to have it. Like, like figuring out the non-negotiables that make your relationship work.
Yeah.
If you don't know what those are, you're going to kind of be throwing things at the wall. I know we need movement. I know that. I know that we need time with just us two. Like, like I know that especially he needs that. Like, because I know quality time is really important to him. Even though it's not as important to me. Like, obviously I want to spend time with him, but like he like needs that. So I think a lot of it is like figuring out what your partner needs beyond love languages, right? Like that's a part of it to kind of help you get there. But I know some of the work that I do like on my own is making sure that I'm trying to like prioritize myself more, right? And this is stuff that I'm learning. Like didn't realize how much I still needed to prioritize myself, because I think as women, we're kind of conditioned to sacrifice everything all the time. And it's always about our husbands and our children. And we forget about us. And he actually will tell me that I am forgetting about myself.
Yeah.
He'll be like, babe, like, no, you need to like pursue your stuff.
Yeah.
You need to go exercise. What do you need me to do? How can I like show up for you so that you can have your me time, so that you can like still be the person that I met doing all these things? And I think that is super important. Just like taking really good care of yourself and having a partner who wants you to take care of yourself.
And sometimes that can actually be a double-edged sword, because you might be inviting some issues, unforeseen issues, and that's not the case. It's just that we know each other. Like if I'm pushing her to get in that gym, or just moving your body, whatever the case is, it's not a shot at my wife. Obviously, we met in incredible shape. We are very health conscious. We're into everything outside of just strength and conditioning. It's just a real
our diet,
the whole nine. So it's not me looking at her and be like, hey, all right, you got to get in that gym for real. No, it's like, okay, this helps you mentally. This helps you spiritually, emotionally, the whole nine. And all it's going to do is just increase our, like the strength in our marriage. So it's when I say it's a double-edged sword, is more so it's the way you word it.
Yeah, because I get what you're saying. Like it could go left. Like someone could feel like you're insulting them if you push them too hard. And we've had that too, where I feel like I'm like, why you always pushing me? Like, I don't want you to push me right now. Like, and just letting somebody know what works for you. Like I told him, I was just like, I don't want you to like give me your business plan on how I can feel better. Yeah. I want you to be tender. I want you to love on me. I want you to tell me how beautiful I am. Like that's what works for me. So that's what I need, so just finding those moments to have the conversations and to express your needs with each other, but always, always focusing on yourself so that you can show up for them, and knowing what specific things, because you're not going to have time to do all the things you used to do. So you also have to find the things that move the needle, prioritize those things, and make sure that those are things that you incorporate no matter what. You can't do 10, but if you can do 3 and those 3 are impactful, you'll be all right.
And never lose yourself. Like there's days where I'm like, hey baby, like maybe you need a girl at night, you know what I mean? Or maybe you may just want to like do X, Y, and Z by yourself. You just don't want to lose yourself, and you don't want to only show up for a person. You have to. I always say this, and it could be taken different, or somebody may feel slighted, but in a marriage, I feel like you're not responsible for somebody's happiness. The only thing you can do is make them happier, and thus making us a happy couple. So if your job solely is to make an individual happy, it's already a losing battle. You have to already be happy within yourself. And that way, I think it flourishes.
We get it. You're tired of swiping right and left, searching for something real in the world of online dating. Look no further. We've got you covered with 2 essential ebooks that will transform your dating life. The 25 conversation starters to cut through the BS when dating, and 25 places to meet quality men in real life ebooks help frustrated women who are tired of dating learn how to date with intention and in alignment with their desired type of lifestyle and goals. We teach you where to find them and then how to actually connect once you do. Each ebook is filled with tried and true methods, whether you're a pro dater or you're just getting back on the market. Time to say goodbye to endless swiping and hello to meeting genuine quality men in real life. Start today and begin your journey toward more authentic connections now at datingwellaf.com.
Yeah, truly, 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 because there's only so much I can do for you if you won't do for you.
Absolutely.
Kind of like, I can't fight for you while you're fighting against me and you expect us to produce good results. That's just not how this works.
Yeah, and I'm saying that from experience.
Yes. And so then what would you say, because there are so many folks who just kind of don't get it, and we're not taught how to, and Dani and I, we talk about this all the time, where we're not taught how to be in relationship, not necessarily a romantic one, but just in relationship, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with transitions, how to deal when you may feel envious or jealous. And we talked about that on this podcast as well. not only of your partner, but of people who are in your universe or who are in your tribe, like how to deal with all of those emotions within ourselves. And then also how to then do so when you have to be in concert with a partner. So what would you say? And this is whether it's, okay, lessons we can teach our kids or lessons we can start to teach ourselves as adults, like just ways in which we can learn. How do we start to teach people how to be in relationship? Because that is a skill. You don't just automatically wake up and know how to do it.
Yeah, like it needs to be like a class in school. Like I just feel like it should start young. I feel like it's something that we need set aside time and programming and workbooks and worksheets and books on how to move through heavy feelings, how to confront someone without being confrontational and aggressive, how to sit with your emotions to process them as opposed to projecting onto somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
what are the steps? I know a lot of people do like premarital counseling, marriage counseling, and I'm sure that is effective and it has its place. But I think just even before that, when you're dating, like find out ways that you can start working on that. Don't wait until you're engaged. Work on that early in life. Like figure out like, I keep reacting like this and people keep leaving me. Like, what do I got to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I keep attracting the same type of person. How do I switch that? Get very curious about how you are and how you deal with things, so that you can start to like curate the life that you want based on your life is all about how you respond to the things that happen to you. So if you're realizing that your responses to people are triggering them a lot, or it's causing it to explode, or it's causing someone to shut down constantly, like, you know, just trying to find ways to learn about yourself, learn who you are, learn what you're about, so that then you can kind of navigate and decide like, okay, I know that if somebody says this to me, I'm going to go to 10. How do I learn to go to 5?
Yeah.
So that I can
Yes.
conversation, right? Like
Yeah.
we've been really, really good, I feel like, with each other at telling each other who we are for real. Like
No
I
representatives, no reps.
like
Yeah,
we tell each
absolutely.
other, like I'll be like, yo, like I'm about to, like I'm getting mad. Like you're about to piss me off.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll be like, okay, well, let's bring it in. Because it's like I don't want to go into this pretending I'm somebody that I'm not. So it's like learning to be comfortable with yourself and finding someone that you can be vulnerable with, so that you can let them know exactly who you are, so that they can learn how to respond to you as well.
And at the end of the day, everybody can't be wrong if you're getting if everybody's saying the same thing. That's the story we want to tell ourselves. But sometimes you got to do a deep dive within yourself and be like, you know what, I gotta look at myself from the outside looking in. And I think that's what we tend to do with each other, and that's why we've been able to like really have difficult conversations, address things in real time, and hold each other accountable by holding ourselves accountable. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and we'll ask each other. Like I'll be like, "Am I tripping? Like, is this a crazy way to look at it?" Even if it's something that doesn't have to do with us. Like, say I have conflicts in other relationships. Like he's my home base, so I'll be like, "Did I respond wrong, or was that da da da?" And he'll be like, "You probably could have said it like this," or he'll be like, "Nah, I feel you. That's how you should have handled it." You know,
and vice versa. We do the same thing to each other.
And just like trying to just be as objective with each other as possible. But I feel like people could really, if you could just learn to show up as yourself early, then really see what the responses to who you are for real, and then you can make adjustments. And I think that it takes some confidence to do that and some self-esteem. And those are the things that I think parents, we all can, including us, do better with our children, is instill a lot of confidence and self-esteem, so your children are not afraid to show up as themselves early, so that they can start adjusting those things early in life, so that by the time they get in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, they're kind of a little bit more on cruise control, as opposed to trying to figure so much out still. Like none of us will ever have it all figured out, but you can have a grip on it a little bit more.
Just a little bit of a grip.
Yeah, like you driving, but you can have a little cruise control. Okay, like you don't have to be like popping wheelies every 5 seconds because your life is out of control. Like I think children need to see conflict. Like, I don't think we should all present ourselves as perfect people and parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes I mess up with my daughter, and there's so much power in how I resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
so much power in our children seeing us resolve tension, seeing us ask each other tough questions at the dinner table, seeing us move
Mm-hmm.
through things. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing too, like not pretending that you guys
Have
are
all the
perfect.
answers.
Yeah, or like we never have an argument or we never have conflict.
Yeah.
And then when I do have conflict with my children, I also want to let them know what it looks like to apologize, to act, to
Mm-hmm.
go back and be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have said it like that. Or
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
daughter would be like, I'm frustrated. I'm like, well, I'm frustrated too. So what we gonna do? Because
And what that does, it validates their feelings, because these kids, they
Yeah.
feel like we were just brought here and we have all the answers, and
nope.
Mm-hmm.
they also think they know everything. But when you
Yeah.
hear them out and when you actually apologize because you know you did wrong, that validates their feelings. And to
Yeah.
add to everything that Dani just said, I think emotional intelligence, and that's something that
Ooh,
I've learned to like really hone in on and strengthen as well, because there's been times where even outside of our marriage where I can't wait to send this formal fuck you email to account, and I might blow it up, but you know what, I'm like, you know what, I got to reel myself back in. Let me word it
Yeah.
differently. In fact, let me say what they want to hear, but also you get the same results that I need.
Yeah.
So we do that to each other in our marriage. It's like you can't attack and be in attack mode all the time. You have to like
Yeah.
pump the brakes a little bit, reassess the situation,
Mm-hmm.
get back in tune, get back center in line with your emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
look at it from a very open space, and it's not just your world. There's somebody else on the other side of that phone. Let me
Yeah.
think twice before I send this text. It's not that serious.
And
Yeah.
in a healthy space, something that you always say, and again, this is for healthy because in abusive relationships is very different because
Mhm.
kids
Yeah.
get gaslighted probably, but like get gaslit probably. But for like us, if one of us is like telling ourselves a story,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
he'll be like, but what if you're wrong though?
But what if you are
Telling yourself
wrong?
that, right?
Mhm.
And you're telling me that this is how you think I feel, but what if you're wrong about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just puts you in a space again to get curious, to stay open, like you said,
Yeah.
like, and trust me, we do not have it all figured out.
Mhm.
We have our stuff, we have our struggles, but for
Yeah.
me, it's about going, and I always say this to him, our relationship to me is about going deeper, not further.
Mhm.
Like we can be together for 10 years, and if it's not going deeper, like that's not going to work for me. So we
Mm-hmm.
talk a lot about like what does it look like to deepen our intimacy, to deepen our friendship? Like what do these, when we go through certain things, like how can we use it to kind of bind us and gel us more as opposed to causing a rift and causing resentment? But the emotional intelligence piece on top of that is learning empathy and learning how to put yourself in other people's shoes. Like
Mhm.
he is our breadwinner. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My job is to take care of these children. His job is outside of the home. We have to have a lot of empathy for each other to feel like
Mhm.
both of us are pulling our weight. We talk about that all
Yeah.
the time. Like
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Like really taking note on what your partner is doing for real, even
Yeah.
if it doesn't look like what you're doing. Like it's a
Mhm.
team. We're all playing a different position.
Mhm.
Like I can't spike the ball and throw the ball and run the ball.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm on with you. Okay. I can do battle by myself. So it's like we'll have conversations where I'm like, God, I just feel so resentful because you get to leave the house whenever. And he's just like, well, yeah, I feel resentful sometimes because I feel like, man, like you get to just be here and be home. And sometimes I just want to lay down, like, and then he'll be like, I have this on my shoulder and this feels heavy to me. And I'll say, well, I have this on my shoulder and this feels heavy to me, so that we can get to a space where we're understanding that we're going through the same thing. Even
Yeah.
though we want to point the finger at each other,
Mhm.
we feel the
It's
same
you.
thing. How can we come together and carry the load together as opposed to trying to dump the load on the other person? Like even yesterday, he asked me, he was just like, sometimes I need you to meet me halfway more.
Mhm.
Like when
Mm.
it comes to intimacy, when it comes to certain things, like
Mhm.
meet me halfway. Like I'm here and I'm in it with you, but like I have so many other things happening with
Yeah.
this arena. I'm asking you for help.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that is so powerful to have a moment with your partner where you can say, I need help. I need you to show up in this way a little bit more. So things like that I think could really help people flourish in relationships more. Emotional intelligence, empathy, starting in childhood, showing that how to resolve conflict and reach resolutions in a non-aggressive way.
Yes. And none of this happens without the key thing, which is communication. Like there's no way you're gonna have results without communicating just to get to the problem. You know what I mean? And I'm a very prideful person. Sometimes they say pride is gonna kill you, but I've learned to like strip that away a little bit and learn how to ask for help. You know, even in your relationship. But like, look, I've taken it from A to Y, like just help me get to Z. And I'm asking at this point for help. I don't want to just put it all on my shoulders and put on the cape and figure it out. At this point, I need you to help me to get to this point. And I would appreciate it if you would actually, because I need it.
I love it. So what it really sounds like you're saying is, above all else, be willing to learn each other from a non-judgmental space, and then also understand that you are always on the same team.
Always. It's always me and you against the problem. Never us against each other, even though it feels that way sometimes. Okay. And you just like, you're sitting in your feelings and you're stewing and like you start telling yourself all these stories and you start justifying everything and you're like, yeah, he's wrong. He's doing this stupid shit and I hate it. And he's getting on my nerves. And like you just get into this space. I'm sure he's over there like, this girl is tripping and she's rude and she thinks everything's about her. Like we have these conversations and you'll be like, yeah, I don't like that. You know, but it's just about us coming back together to be like, okay, but what's the solution? Like, are we trying to stick this out? Okay, so we're going to have a conversation around what it looks like to move forward. And I think that's where sometimes couples, they kind of lose a sense of what their overall mission is. My mission is to be married to this person for the rest of my life. That's the end game. I always have to keep my eyes on the prize. And that's where the sitting in gratitude comes in. And like thinking about just how amazing this actually is. Like we say that all the time. We're just like, oh, we're so blessed. Like life is so good. And we don't know what the future holds. But I know that like our goal is to stay married and to stay in it. So every conversation, every step, every move we make is to that end. You know, so like when I'm feel like being extra mean or I feel like lashing out, I'm like, okay, but is this conversation going to get me closer to my goal or is it going to set me back? You know, so just keeping the goal in mind. And I think both of you have to be on that page that like, hey, we're trying to really stay married. Like we want to like figure that out and what that looks like. Cause we don't know. We don't, you know, we don't know what that looks like. We're figuring it out for ourselves and constantly just reminding ourselves. I know I do it. Like, I'm just like, I want to be in this. I want to stay in this. Even if it doesn't feel good, I definitely am like Michelle Obama, where I'd rather take my odds of more good years than not. And not just like throwing in the towel for bad seasons, like just always being optimistic that it's always just going to get better and better.
I love it. I love it. This conversation was so good. Where can we stay connected to the both of you? Not to be in y'all business, because I really do think married folks, their business should be their business, and everybody just don't need to be all up in it. Like if you got too many people in a 2-person relationship, we gonna have problems. Where can we just stay connected? Just to, whether it's, you know, to get some clothing from, you know, Flash Supply, whether it's Dani, to watch your journey and how genius my little Izzy is, and Iman, her little, listen, that she's busy. And then Nate too, of him learning how to like, how does he show up in the world as a growing young man? So where can we stay connected with you guys?
In regards to the clothing line, you can definitely follow us at Fly Supply CO, or just log on at www.flysupplyclothing.com. We have something for everybody. And in my personal life, it's just my Instagram, my government, Reginald Bourdeau.
And you can stay connected with me at the Dani Bourdeau, Bourdeau. You can always stay connected with the podcast at triggeredafpodcast.com for all the latest and greatest. Please go to triggeredafevents.com for our next event coming to a city near you.
Yes. And you can stay connected with me everywhere, all over, at Alicia Reese, ALECHIA REESE. Thank y'all so much. This has truly been such an amazing conversation. So until next time, bye y'all.
Bye.